Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny is now official for the Brazil card in pay-per-view. We've also got Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou being in the works for the March pay-per-view card at UFC 285 on the 4th of March. And if Francis Ngannou is not ready, they're going to move on and make Jon Jones versus Curtis Blaydes for the interim world championship in the heavyweight division because Stipe Miocic doesn't exist. And also, we've got Drew Dober versus Bobby Green at the end of the year, December 17th. I'm going to break them all down in today's MMA news reaction video. We start straight away with Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny on the Brazil card. What did I say? I made a video about this. I said, Jorge Masvidal, this is your last chance. Gilbert Burns is not going to wait around for you until March. He wants to fight in front of Brazil. He's recently become a Brazilian hero since the Khamzat Chimaev fight. He's going to fight in front of Brazil and he's going to take on Neil Magny, who called him out. Masvidal didn't take the fight. He wanted to fight in March, and Burns ain't waiting around. This is the problem with these other contenders that are so entitled. I made this video. I made it, and I'll tell you this. I don't mind Magny's chances against Gilbert Burns. I'll pick Gilbert Burns to win. I will. I think Gilbert Burns has the ability to take down Neil Magny. And also, if he doesn't, I think he can just, even if he does get taken down himself, find some kind of submission position. And I think he has a power advantage on the feet. But Neil Magny gives him some problems. One thing that Gilbert Burns doesn't like are straight punches down the pipe from a guy with really long arms. This isn't a good matchup for Gilbert Burns in the lightweight division. It really isn't. He needs a guy that he's going to beat to hooks. But he looked so good in his fight against Khamzat Chimaev. I can't imagine Neil Magny beating him. And I didn't think Neil Magny was going to beat Daniel Rodriguez, to be fair. So I was wrong on that one, but I just can't imagine it. If Neil Magny beats Gilbert Burns, I don't know what I'll do. It will really upset me because I won't understand it whatsoever. I'm going with Gilbert Burns. And as much as I see comments here saying no one wants this fight and stuff like that, it's a fight, and I'd rather a fight than wait another 2 months for a fighter to be back in action. These guys don't have unlimited primes. Gilbert Burns is an older man, 35, 36 years of age. He's not got time to wait around for Jorge Masvidal, and Jorge Masvidal doesn't have time either. Neither does Neil Magny. So honestly, even though this isn't the big matchup of Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal, I'd rather fighters just stay active and fight other fighters that are willing to stay active, like Gilbert Burns and Neil Magny. Let's get it on. I'm not wanting to wait around 4 months from now for Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. We can get both. We can get this fight, then we can get the other fight as well. Gilbert Burns, Neil Magny in Brazil, January 21st. It helps out the Brazil card. This is a massive fight on that card because Gilbert Burns is now a very big name. And that card needed a little bit of help as well. So I'm glad this was made. I'll go with Gilbert Burns getting this one done by a submission. I think he'll hurt Neil Magny on the feet at some point. I think he's going to chop at the calf early on, go to the legs early on like he was doing against Khamzat Chimaev. And I think it's going to really start to slow down Neil Magny as the fight goes on. Both guys are going to start landing some shots, and then Neil Magny is going to get a little bit overzealous, a little bit overconfident, and Gilbert Burns is going to crack him on the chin, hurt him badly, send him to the ground with some big shots afterwards, and then maybe sink in a rear naked choke or an arm triangle on the ground or something along those lines. I'm just remembering the RDA fight with Neil Magny, where RDA hurt him with kicks early on, ended up on top of him in a scramble, and then just immediately submitted him. So I reckon Gilbert Burns can do a similar thing, and I think he gets this one done. Magny has a dangerously decent chance of winning this because style-wise, this is the type of fight where I can see Burns getting jabbed over and over again and starting to cry at the end of round 1. So we'll see what goes down, but seeing the improvement that Burns made and knowing that this is his last run, I think he's going to put everything behind this training camp, and I think he'll deal with Neil Magny with those calf kicks, hurt him at some point, end up on top, and finish him with a submission in rounds 1 or 2. Good moment for both of these guys, though. I'm glad they're fighting and not waiting around for an extra 4 months before they sign a fight. Very good stuff. We move on to another situation, which is Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. We're going to have 2 pay-per-views in March. We've got a Leon Edwards-Usman pay-per-view in the UK on March the 18th, UFC 286. And we've also got a March pay-per-view at UFC 285 in Las Vegas with Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. First of all, this tells me McGregor's back in April. That's what it tells me. McGregor's back in April. Otherwise, they do one in March, one in April. But the fact that they're cramming two in March tells me McGregor's back in April and they're trying to clear the pay-per-view slate so they can make a McGregor pay-per-view there. But this is a big deal, and I'm really looking forward to it. So Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. This is the fight. This is the fight that we've all been waiting for a very long time. And I'm telling you one thing. Jones can take whatever he wants, and Ngannou's going to KO him in the first round. I don't think Jones has the footwork of the Cyril Gane. And people are going to laugh at that. I know Brendan Schaub and Joe Rogan have this really unrealistic expectation of how good Jon Jones is. Dominic Reyes beat him. Anthony Smith went to 5 competitive rounds with him. Thiago Santos nearly beat him. This is not the same Jon Jones. He can bulk up to heavyweight all he wants. He's not going to make up for the strength difference between him and Francis Ngannou. I think Ngannou's going to KO him at one point. I can see Jon Jones shooting a takedown and Ngannou just punching him over and over again while stuffing it, hurting him a little bit. Jones going to his back, getting hurt again on his way back up, and then while he's standing, Ngannou lands another big shot on Jon Jones while Jones tries to get respect back on the feet. Because Jon Jones, with an 8-inch reach advantage over Dominic Reyes, was getting hit by rear bolo uppercuts on a counter. Jones was trying to jab Reyes, and his boxing was so bad, and he was so wide open defensively, that whilst trying to jab Reyes with a 6-inch at least reach advantage over Reyes, he got hit with a pullback rear bolo uppercut counter on the chin. That's not funny, okay? And Ngannou's going to catch him if Dominic Reyes can catch him the amount of times that he did in the first 3 rounds of their fight. I reckon Ngannou gets this one done. But if Jones wins, whatever he's on, he needs to double his doctor's wage. Respect to Jon Jones if he gets this one done, because Ngannou's a beast. And I think you have to be Cyril Gane to beat him. So, Jon Jones, going to lose by first round TKO or KO. I just see Ngannou getting this one done. It's not a good one for Jones. I respect that he's trying to take this fight, but if Jon Jones doesn't fight Francis Ngannou, he's got Curtis Blaydes to worry about, and I'll tell you, it's an easier fight than Francis Ngannou is. I don't mind Blaydes' chances either. To be honest with you, I don't mind a lot of heavyweights' chances against Jones, especially if they're strong enough like Ngannou to stuff some takedowns, or they have the wrestling background of like a Curtis Blaydes or the grappling background of a Tom Aspinall. Volkov, maybe Jones could get him down and embarrass him. I could see that being a reality, but it's still a little bit of danger for Jon Jones. When it comes to Blaydes, Aspinall, and Ngannou, even Gane, but Gane might get out-grappled. I don't think Jones has a chance. I don't think he's a heavyweight. He don't hit like a heavyweight. I know he's going to be bulked up and maybe he'll be on a different type of power and stuff like that. I can just see Ngannou catching him and hurting him bad. I can, in the first round. And I can see Curtis Blaydes getting it done as an underdog. You know Blaydes would be an underdog in that matchup. They'd make Jones like a 2-1 favourite. Coming in, all the hype would be around Jones moving to heavyweight. I don't mind Blaydes' chance there early getting a punch off on Jon Jones because, again, Reyes was landing at will and he almost lost to Volkan Ozdemir. And you can say whatever you want about the motivation of Jones going into that fight, man. I don't know. It's worrying to see Reyes land that much and not imagine that the heavyweights can land half of those shots. And if they do land half of those shots, going to be night-night Jon Jones. We'll see how it goes. But for Stipe Miocic not to be in the mix for this fight, forget Stipe Miocic. Forget Stipe Miocic. I don't know what to do. I hate to turn on him here, but what are you doing? He's probably playing games with money, and Blaydes isn't. So now Blaydes has this opportunity. I don't know what Stipe's doing. They don't need you. They're just going to cut you. Ngannou won the rematch. They can paint him as the much better fighter. They don't need Stipe Miocic to come back into the UFC. They really don't. I don't know what he's doing with the money situation. He should have been fighting Jon Jones in December, fighting Jon Jones in March if that wasn't the case. But he's just, I guess, turned down every opportunity that's been given to him. So good job, Curtis Blaydes, for saying yes. I know Miocic deserves a lot of money, and I just feel like his only chance to get back towards the belt was to take that Jon Jones fight, because I don't see him going back through the contenders and getting a title shot back, because it's a dangerous division now for an older man like Stipe Miocic, who's taken the damage that he has. All I'm seeing is him training and bulking up on Instagram. What's he doing it for? If he's just going to complain about money and miss out on opportunities. Maybe it'll pay off, though, and I'll be seen as silly in about 2 years' time when he's champion again. But I just don't see it. I really don't. So, really looking forward to that March pay-per-view card. And there's 2 March pay-per-view cards. So I'm really looking forward to March in general. In all honesty. Really looking forward to it. I honestly believe the way it's shaping up right now, early 2023 might be the best quarter of UFC we've ever had. I'm not saying that lightly either, because I'm not just thinking about the fights that have already been made. I'm thinking about the fights that are gonna be made on top of the ones that we already have. We've got a comeback card for Gastelum versus Imavov. Okay, whatever. Great card, Gastelum, Imavov. We've got Jeff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov on the card. Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. Umar Nurmagomedov, Raoni Barcelos. Ketlin Vieira versus Raquel Pennington. Some really good scraps on that card that we're all going to be looking forward to. Other than that last one I mentioned, we can go without it, to be honest with you. But January card in Brazil. Not the most stacked, but a pretty good pay-per-view card, with now Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny on the main card as well. Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker. Brad Tavares, Gregory Rodriguez. And Davison Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno, which is still announced as the co-main event. So the main event could be Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko 3, which would be a massive fight as well. One of the biggest women's fights in the history of the sport. We move on to UFC South Korea, which is going to be good as well. Great fight night card with a live crowd. We've got UFC 284. Makhachev versus Volkanovski, battle for pound number 1. One of the most highest skilled matchups we've ever had in UFC history, with Rodriguez Emmett on the card, Whittaker Costa on the card, Kai Kara France, Alex Perez on the card, Jimmy Crute, Alonzo Menifield. We're probably going to get Jack Della Maddalena on the card. There's so many fun fights to make there, and I'm really looking forward to all of them. My nose is itching beyond belief. The mustache hairs are tickling it. I'm just hoping those other pay-per-view, those other fight night cards are going to be good, because now we got 2 pay-per-views back-to-back in March. And then McGregor back in April. And then probably Adesanya Pereira 2 in May. Wonderful stuff. It really is wonderful stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Moving on, though, to another bit of news that came out, which is Drew Dober versus Bobby Green, December the 17th. I feel like Bobby Green's going to win this one. I really do. I really do. I think Bobby Green's boxing can give Drew Dober a bit of problems. People that are good at straight punches seem to do well against Drew Dober, and also people that don't slow down too much seem to do very good against Drew Dober. And he's also a bit of a slow starter, Drew Dober, as well. I know he's got that KO in the first round over Nasrat Haqparast, but if you're fast early on with the hands and you have good head movement like Rafael Alves, you seem to be able to give Drew Dober a little bit of a problem in round 1. Bobby Green can give him problems in round 1, and I think if he gets off enough punches, he can start swelling up the eye of Drew Dober. He can start busting up the nose of Drew Dober, swelling up the lips. And I think if he goes into round 2 like that, I trust Bobby Green to take body shots well. I just trust Bobby Green to take body shots well. And I think he will take the body shots well. Ride with the big power shots that Drew Dober's got for him. I think he can have a Fiziev-esque performance. And if he can show up the same way he did against Fiziev, against Drew Dober, I think Fiziev's just that next level above Drew Dober in the style that they fight in, to where Bobby Green's going to be able to take advantage of Dober a little bit more. Because Fiziev's main success was the leg kicks against Bobby Green. He punches the same way Dober does, but does it better. But his main success was the leg kicks and the body kicks that he was throwing against Bobby Green that were opening up his hands. Drew Dober's only really got hands. He does throw kicks, but he's only really got the hands. I don't see him taking down Bobby Green. I think he's just going to get outboxed. So I think it's going to be a hell of a scrap. Both guys going to land big shots. Fight of the night performance. 29-28 or 30-27 on another scorecard to Bobby Green. I reckon he gets that one done. But I've been waiting for this for a long time. So I really like this matchup. This is an epic, epic matchup. Hardcore fans should know. You've been looking at these two floating next to each other in the rankings for about 5 years. It's time for the fight. So I want to see it. It's on the December fight night card. And look at the December Fight Night card. Cannonier Strickland. Armand Sarukian versus Demiris Magulov. Drew Dober, Bobby Green. Caceres versus Julian Erosa. Duraev versus Alexichuk. Michael Morales versus Rinat Fakretinov. Mahashate versus Hafa Garcia. Said Nurmagomedov versus Sadyukub Kakramanov. David Dvorak versus Manel Kapp. Jake Matthews versus Matt Semmelsberger. And even some eye candy with Shehan Vlismas versus Corey McKenna. Sign me up for that December Fight Night card. What a stacked one. Like and subscribe. That's all the videos I'm doing, or that's all the breakdowns I've got today. Toodle Pip. I'm just going to check UFC news alerts just to make sure there's no hidden fight announcement that's flown under the radar that I want to talk about. Macy Barber versus Andrea Lee. That's a decent match. This is what Erin Blanchfield wanted. But Macy Barber's got the fight, and I feel like Macy Barber can win this one, to be honest with you. I reckon she can. And we've also got Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. I reckon Dan Ige gets this one done. I like this matchup for him. Gives him a chance to rebound. He's only taken on really dangerous opponents. So I like that they've given him a little bit of a safer approach with Damon Jackson. But if he loses to Damon Jackson, he's done. I think he'll win and then get right back to facing absolute monsters in the featherweight division. Toodle Pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. I got Burns. Ngannou against Jones. Maybe Blaydes against Jones. I don't know. And Bobby Green. See you later.